When you're able to realize what your real gift is, the sky's the limit. I mean, the possibilities are absolutely endless.
So I'm really looking forward to today. I'm bringing you a dear friend of mine. We've been friends for a number of years, and it's been really badass watching her journey from where she came from and how she kind of jumped out on a whim and created this monster that is growing like crazy. So guys, let me introduce you to Stacey McGovern. So Stacey was born and raised in Abilene, Texas. She graduated from National University in San Diego, earning her Bachelor's of Arts in Communication. After deciding California was no place for this Texas girl, Stacey returned to the Lone Star State. I'm going to let her tell you the rest of the story because I hate reading these bios. So Stacey, welcome to the show. Tell us all about you and the stuff that you've created, girl. It's badass.
It's crazy. It's really blown up. I appreciate you having me today, and I think it was in my blood. I was just kind of born an entrepreneur. I think that's something that you're either kind of born with or maybe you're not, or maybe it can be learned. But I actually bought my first business at age 23. It was a lingerie store out in Abilene, Texas, West Texas. And, ironically, it was about the same time that Victoria's Secret launched. So needless to say, I wasn't very successful. But I still had that entrepreneurial bone in my body and always knew I wanted to work for myself. But after being in retail, I realized that there's this other world out there called outside sales. Who knew?
Right.
You don't have to wait for the customers to come to you. You can go get them. So I spent a lot of years with Nextel when it was huge and won a lot of awards with Nextel and kind of thought outside sales was just going to be my thing forever. But the kind of turning point for me is I was selling Nextel out in West Texas, and I set a sales record, and the CEO of Nextel called me, and we had a little presentation of awards or whatever. And he said, Stacey, he said, if you can do this in Abilene, Texas, what the heck would you be able to do in a bigger market? And that sort of stuck with me. I never forgot that statement that he made. You never know that one thing that's going to kind of change your direction. Sure enough, I ended up finally out here in DFW, and that's when things have just really exploded for me.
And what a cool ride for you. I mean, first of all, what were you thinking opening a lingerie store in Abilene, Texas?
Well, I grew up in retail. My parents had 5 clothing stores, and it's what I knew. It's what I'd done. I was 12 years old in the back of the store wrapping gifts at Christmas time,
Right. So, well, and for the people that don't know, Abilene's like in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
There's a one university, but outside of that, there is nothing there.
And a military base. And that's if military base wasn't there, there'd be no Abilene for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
well, and then, of course, to my luck, the black cloud as it goes, Victoria's Secret decides to launch and open in every mall across America. So my little lingerie store, they could sell it for what I could buy it for. There was no competing with a conglomerate like that.
Right. So you moved to the big city, Fort Worth, which is funny still, but a lot bigger than Abilene.
Well, yeah, it was big for me, for sure.
Well, I had the same experience. I came from a small town in Kansas where the graduating class when we left was 23 students, and moved to Texas, and my average classroom size was 25 to 30 students. So it was a big transition. So you come to Fort Worth, you're the top salesperson for a company, and you're out in the boonies, and now you come to Fort Worth. What happens then?
Oh, well, my mind exploded, basically, of all the opportunities, and the opportunities were endless, just absolutely endless. You could do anything you wanted. So I worked for I worked for Helio, which was a startup cellular company for a while, and worked for Manpower, which was a staffing company, just really pursuing that outside sales thing, and, fairly successful at it. But still always in the back of my mind, I wanted to own my own business. I wanted to do my own thing. Why make all this money for someone else? Why not make it for myself and my family?
Right.
Cause you get commission, but still you're really growing someone else's business when you're doing that. So as the wife of a police officer, I just saw this need. So many police officers in Texas for sure, but probably everywhere, rely on off-duty work to make ends meet. A lot of the smaller departments, they just don't pay very well. And so these guys work off-duty security and off-duty traffic to make ends meet. And my husband was doing that as well. But it was so random. He would work one off-duty job here and then not know if he was going to get another one. So there was no way as a kind of CEO of my family to budget or know how much extra money was going to be coming in. His police salary definitely didn't pay the bills. I came up with my next big idea, if you will. I said, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a way to manage this off-duty work for these officers, sort of like a staffing company for police officers, if you will. And, I got this idea and I started a company and kind of took it from there. And the funny part is I told my parents, I have this idea. I want to manage police officers off duty work. I want to make sure they get paid faster, make sure they have guaranteed work, set a set schedule every month so they know how much money they're going to make from off duty so they can budget, they can plan for their families. And my parents, who are in their 70s, went, what? Like, that's not a thing. Like, what are you talking? Like, a business is a retail or a brick and mortar. Right. What are you talking about? I mean, they believed in me, but they thought I was a little nuts.
Well, Stacey, come on, you are a little nuts. I get it, right?
For sure.
So here's the crazy thing: is necessity is the mother of all invention. I mean, that phrase has been thrown around for years. So here you are, being a wife to a police officer, which is one of the toughest jobs in the world, outside of being a wife of a veteran, just because how much shit you guys got to put up with and deal with, and that nerve-wracking thought process of, is he coming home today? I had a sister-in-law that was married to my brother for almost completely 24 years of his Marine Corps service. And I can tell you, that's a bitch of a life. So first of all, well done, honey, for being able to handle that lifestyle. That makes you a badass in my book all day long.
Thank you.
So here you are, your husband's working all these off-duty jobs. And, I can remember back when I was bartending early on in my life, and you had all these off-duty, officers that were at the bartending, and their favorite thing was, of course, throwing these assholes out of the bar when they were drunk and everything else. But what always ran through my mind is, man, these guys got families they should be home to. They've gone through academies. They've gone through all this stuff. And yet here they are working till 2 o'clock in the morning off the duty, because they're getting paid. They're still in uniform, but they're not a on-duty police officer at that point, right? Basically playing bouncers at these bars when they should be home spending time with their families, but they didn't make enough money, so they had to find different incomes.
Right.
So you're going through the same thing, and you're like, dude, there's got to be a better way, and you create this business. So walk us through what these guys are doing in this business you created.
Well, to back up a little bit, I just thought it was perfect because my husband, as a police officer, has all the police contacts. So he's able to connect with all those guys that need the off-duty work. And then me, as an outside salesperson, I have all the corporate contacts, the people that would actually write these contracts. So right. I just said, if I can get enough off-duty work to where these guys can say, I have to work 4 off-duty days a month or 10 off-duty days a month in order to meet my bills. So if they could know, get a schedule 30 days ahead and know exactly what days they're going to work and know exactly when they're going to get paid and, paid via direct deposit, not some crazy check that bounces or whatever, how great would that be? And so literally I started making a plan and, my husband, he's a police officer. He's a little skeptical and I know he believes in me and he thought I could do it, but the whole time he's thinking we're going to get one little security job or just a little extra income here or there. I don't think he ever dreamed near as big as I do.
Well, so let's put one thing on the table is I swear in every successful relationship, there's that one alpha person and then there's kind of that beta person. You definitely got the alpha dog status. So, because I know when I made a decision to jump out of my own, my life although supported me, I'm pretty sure she looked at me like I had two heads. So I get it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice.
So I formed a company called Point Blank Safety Services, got my LLC, did all that, got a website going, but that's kind of, then what,
Right.
So, I just spent of course I still had to have a full-time job while I was trying to build this business because I had to have income. So I'm working full time. I'm raising two boys, running a household. My husband's a police officer, so he's never around. And in my spare time, which I joke is like midnight to 3 a.m., I'm reaching out, emailing, calling.
No, wait.
Calling.
Say that again, because I don't think a lot of people embrace what entrepreneurs have to go through sometimes when they're raising a family, being a spouse, and doing all that and trying to create this side job. What were the hours you were working to build this thing?
Well, I mean, I joke, not necessarily literally, but, everyone always says, what spare time? And I said, well, I have midnight to 3 a.m. open. So it's kind of a joke, but yeah.
No, but there's some truth to that too. Right. I mean, because you're not doing this during your day job hours. So
it's literally emailing and, while you're at another appointment for your actual job, maybe you pop in and drop a card off or something off at a potential client for trying to grow this business.
Absolutely. And that's the beautiful thing is a lot of people don't realize that they can start a business while working for somebody else. And what I tell you, what a better way to get funding for your business than let somebody else pay you for the day gig so you can build the real business.
Right. Exactly. So, you talk about your inner badass, and it's funny because I say the same thing, but I talk about an inner, gift. I don't know if you've ever watched Steve Harvey. He's a hilarious comedian, but he also does motivational speaking. And he talks about that everybody has a gift. And we're taught when we're young that gifts are just being good at sports or singing or dancing. Those are not the only gifts. Accustomed to think that. But he talks about when you're able to realize, and this is really what made a difference in my life and really what I think people should take note of. When you're able to realize what your real gift is, the sky's the limit. I mean, the possibilities are absolutely endless. The day I realized that I have a really good ability to build trust quickly with clients, with friends, with whoever, is the day I was able to really take my business to the next level. And so some people's gifts might be they cut the best hair in America or they bake the best apple pie. It doesn't matter what your gift is. You just got to find it. And when you do, happiness is crazy. Success goes crazy, everything. So it's kind of the same thing you say, but, just a little different there.
You're spot on. And I think a lot of people struggle with what is my gift? And my answer is go do a lot more. Right? Go have a lot more experiences and do a lot more things so you can actively find not only what you're good at, but what you enjoy freaking
right.
Good.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So now you're CEO, Chief Wampum of a very large security firm, and you're changing lives of these officers, because I'm almost willing to bet, and I don't know this, so I'm guessing a little bit, that some of your officers have actually left being a police officer to probably work for you full time. Is that true?
Well, they have to, yes, that's absolutely true. We have many that have done that, but they have to actually stay a reserve at a department, so that department holds their license. So they can stay an actual police officer, which a reserve, if you don't know, it's just officers that come in and donate time. The city or the department holds their commission, and they donate time to that city or department when they have a shortage. So they may work 16 hours a month or something for that department. And then, yes, they turn around and work for us full time, because a lot of these guys, people don't believe me. They find it hard to believe, but a lot of these guys make more working for us than they did working full time at a police department.
No, I totally, I mean, all of our first responders, whether they be military, medics, police officers,
right,
it's poverty level income. It's really tragic how little these people are paid. And I always told that from the military perspective, especially when I was in the Marine Corps, is up until you hit E5, you were below poverty status. The only difference between the military and the police and medics and whatnot, the military are given 3 square meals a day and a place to sleep. Interestingly enough, did you have the thought of you were going to be changing people's lives when you started this business?
No. I mean, not originally. I mean, originally I just wanted to make enough money to pay my bills, to be honest. You know, everybody just wants to be able to pay their bills.
But not everybody wants to pay their bills, but they like the money.
Right. Well, true. I just wanted to be able to pay the bills. I wanted the amounts to match up at the end of the month and stop being in the negative and, you know, all that kind of thing you go through when you live paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
But the thing is, Donnie, is when you believe in yourself, it's a lot easier to get other people to believe in you. And as I was going out to these construction companies, because I knew they used police officers for lane closures on construction sites and for striping, and you know they use those officers to block in the construction areas to keep the consumer safe as well as the construction guys safe. But they were going directly. Most of these construction companies were going directly through a city or a department to get their officers. Well, what was happening is they're having to have a full-time person to handle scheduling, to handle invoicing, to handle 1099, all these hundreds of officers that are working for them. So it was a nightmare for them. They're having officers call them at 2 a.m. Hey, where's my check? Crazy stuff. So the idea that I was coming in and I'm like, no, I'm going to manage that whole process for you. I'm going to do everything. You're going to have one point of contact, one invoice monthly, and that's it. And, you know, you would see the look on it like, really? Like that's possible? Because it would free up time for them to do other things or open new projects or whatever. Long story short, after the 2 years of really beating the street and trying to build these connections, I got one traffic manager at a huge company that really believed in me. We just clicked. And, you know, sometimes it only takes that one person to believe in you. It helps if that one person's able to write a huge contract, but he believed in me, and we met, and I hoped it was going to turn into something, but never really knew for sure. He never told me definitely we're going to use you or definitely, you know, this is going to work out. But one day, September of 2014, and I love telling this story because this is a true American dream story. This is like what everybody dreams of, what everybody wants. I was in my bathroom getting ready for work, putting on my makeup, you know, same routine, just drop my kid off at school, getting ready to leave. The doorbell rings. I go to the doorbell. It's FedEx. Open it up. It's a $1.5 million contract from a construction company for a 4-year project in DFW. And they wanted to use our officers for the entire project.
You know, here's the crazy thing. You know, you and I had coffee just shortly after that. When all that happened. I got goosebumps when you said that, by the way. Because I remember we sat down for a cup of coffee and you were like, Donnie, this just happened.
Life-changing. Life-changing.
Here's the beautiful thing about all of that is you didn't set off in life to create a security company. You found a need, you found a niche, and you build a business around that.
Exactly.
That's just beautiful. That's just beautiful.
Well, and we all know in Texas, right, there's 2 seasons, winter and highway construction. So if you can find a need like that, right. You're never going to be out of business.
Don't worry. 35 will be eventually finished in like 22.
Hey, I'm all for as long as it takes. We have about 16 guys out there a night. As long as they want to take, I'm good.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. You've changed people's lives. You've built this whole cool thing, and life is changed for you, your family, everything else, and continues to move forward. What the cool, true American dream story. What's next for you guys? Where are you going with all this?
Well, we're continuing to grow. We're expanding now kind of all over Texas. We just landed or were awarded a contract in Austin, and we were awarded a master with Weber, which is a huge highway construction company. So we'll be their go-to security and traffic safety company for every contract in Texas going forward, which is huge. But more than that, we're so blessed, and we've been so blessed. You know, Michael and I decided, what else can we do? What can we do to give back even more to police? And so we started a nonprofit last year. We got our 501c3 last May, and it's called Blue Family Fund, and we provide financial assistance to dependents and families of fallen officers, as well as current police officers active duty.
Oh, that's awesome. So tell me more about this. How does the program work? How did you guys come up with the idea?
I just wanted to do more. I said, you know what, we're so blessed. what else can we do? I know you know tons about nonprofits with yours, but I had no idea. So I did a lot of research and came up with kind of the structure. We basically provide scholarships for any dependent of a police officer that wants to pursue criminal justice or police. We just awarded our first $500 scholarship last week.
Oh, awesome.
So a young lady out of Austin that's going to go to University of Texas at Tyler. And we're having our first big fundraiser coming up on May 25th. We're going to do a fallen officer blood drive and fundraiser here in Burleson at one of the local stores. They're letting us use their parking lot for our big event. We have about 30 vendors coming. So,
and is it a trade show then, or?
No, not really. I mean, you can set up a booth, which is free, but just, everyone that's selling or promoting their business is donating a small portion back to the fund. And then, of course, we're having Carter Blood Care collecting blood for fallen officers. And
That's
then,
awesome.
Hopefully we'll be able to do some more good. Last year, we were able to donate 500 sheets of sheetrock to the Port Arthur Police Department for them to rebuild homes after the hurricane. So that was our first big project. And we're new. We're still finding our niche and figuring out, where all the funds are going to go. But the one thing that I really want to make clear about us, and another reason we started this, is 100% of every penny donated to the Blue Family Fund goes to a police family. I don't take a salary out of it. None of that. Our Point Blank Safety Services pays all the bills for the nonprofit. So, and we don't take anything. If you donate $1, $1 goes to a family. And we're really proud of that because there's so many charities out there that it's sad, but it's not like that. So
right.
We really wanted to make a difference.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, it's so fun to watch your journey and everything that you've accomplished over a very short amount of time and everything that you've done. What do you think has probably been your biggest lesson learned along the way with all this?
Never give up. There were so many times during those 2 years when I was trying to build Point Blank that I wanted to say, well, this just isn't going to work, or I'm tired. I guess I'm just going to focus on my day job or whatever. But I didn't. And I think back, all those sleep's overrated, I guess. So all those times I wasn't sleeping, it ended up paying off. And so, and also the fact that I like people to understand that this is the first business I tried. I tried other businesses and they didn't work. So if I'd have said, well, obviously I'm just not good at business, I would have never gotten here. So you have to just keep plugging away. And life is a lot about timing. It's a lot about, like you said, finding your niche, finding where the need is, where the demand is. There's multiple factors that go into it, but I think drive and never giving up is what did it for us.
Yeah, and that's so awesome because I think a lot of people give up right before it's going to break loose.
Exactly.
There's a great story that Napoleon Hill tells in one of his books called 1 Foot from Gold. And it's about a gold miner that finds a huge claim in, I forget where it was, but the claim dried up on them and they ran out of money and they took like the last $20,000 they had and moved his whole family home and sold the mine. And the person who bought the mine came in, brought in a metallurgist and a geologist, and once they went into the mine, the geologist put them in the right direction and said, if you dig here, you'll find the vein again. And sure enough, they dug 1 foot and found the largest gold deposit in history up to that point. And I think a lot of people do that where they get stacked up against it. Life sucks. Things aren't working out. And they throw in the towel when that next phone call could have been the one to change it all for them.
I was just going to say that, after we opened the package and had this huge, 300-page, $1.5 million contract, the thing was I called and they said, well, we want you to start working 2 weeks. What? I was just a business card and a person at that time. So, I had to go get officers. 2 weeks is quick. Get enough officers, start recruiting. And then as you read through the contract, they required $5 million in insurance. Well, if you know anything about insurance, $5 million in insurance and a general liability policy is about $20,000.
Right.
I didn't have $20,000. So there was time. I could have said, oh, well, we don't have $20,000. Forget it. We're not going to be able to do it, and walked away. But no, I was like, $20,000 is not going to stop me. I sold everything I could think of to sell. I begged and borrowed from friends and credit cards and whatever, however I could get it. I said, this is not going to slip through our hands, where a lot of people would have said, $20,000 for insurance, we can't do that. And they would have just given up. So, you can't do that. And you'd be amazed when you reach out to people want to help. They really do. I mean, when I would tell my story and be like, I just need another $1,000 and we'll have this done. They were so kind and so generous. And that's why we just said, we did this, we made it. Now we got to give back as much as we possibly can. My grandfather was probably my favorite person in the world. And he used to always say, you get what you give.
True.
Life is all about that. And I truly believe it. I'm very generous in everything I do. And all because of him, because he always told me, Stacey, you get what you give. It's become true for me anyway.
Just beautiful. So I know you said never give up, right? But there's a lot of people that are trying to figure out what their journey is. They're trying to figure out their story. They're trying to figure out how did they get their fairy tale. And I use fairy tale loosely because I know even now where you're at, there's some great ups, but there are also some still great downs. And you're still learning to go along with all this. But what would you tell somebody beyond never give up when they're trying to figure out their journey?
That even a failure is a lesson. Even when you don't succeed or you stumble or whatever. I mean, I think you asked at one point, would I change anything if I could do it all over? And I wouldn't, because if I hadn't failed at that lingerie store and if I hadn't gone into outside sales and, if I hadn't married a police officer, like all the things that happened, I think prepared me for where I am now. And so I think sometimes life, everything happens when it's supposed to. It may not be when we want it to,
right.
but when it's supposed to. Because I think if I'd had this kind of success in my 20s or in my 30s, would I have appreciated it? Would I have taken as good care of it as I do now? Probably not. I mean, you get big success in your 20s and you think it's always going to be like that.
Right.
So I think sometimes you have to fail at something to succeed.
That's it. I mean, you're 100% right on that. I think it's a must. You must screw up so you can learn how to do it right.
Exactly.
And learn from those experiences.
I think relationships, I never understood, I guess, early on in my life how important every relationship is. The one guy I sold a light bar to when I worked at Hawk Electronics ended up reconnecting with him at point blank, and he didn't need our services, but he connected me with someone who, I'm saying, it's such a small world. And so if you really honor every relationship, I'm a huge believer in networking. I think networking and those relationships that you build along the way, even when you think it was just a small meeting or just a small encounter, it can turn out to be the one person that knows the right person to help you move forward.
Absolutely. Well, Stacey, thank you so very much for being on today. It was great catching up with you. I love hearing the story of your journey. It's been so fun to watch. Keep it up, keep running, and keep going for it. Your spirit is going to continue to inspire others to unleash their inner badass and just go for it.
I hope so. I really hope so.
Any parting words for our listeners? Any words of wisdom that they could take with them on their journeys?
I mean, I think I've said it. Just keep trying, like you said. Keep trying everything and every idea. Brainstorm every idea. Build a plan and go for it. You got to jump. You got to make that jump. And sometimes it's really scary, but it can be really great as well.
Awesome. Thanks again for being on the show, hon. I really, really appreciate it.
And thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. I hope you were impressed by it as much as I was. Man, keep kicking ass in life. Please do me a favor. Comment, share, tell your friends about this. Every share just brightens my day. I appreciate it.